Welcome to Promote, Profit, Publish. I'm your host, Juliet Clark, and Sheila Kennedy is here today to share some new programs that she's put together for self-published authors, and they're reasonably priced, so stay tuned. Before we get started, September, we have the AI Author Academy coming up again, teaching you how to streamline all of your content using AI. We literally have cut hours out of our monthly content production using the methodology that I teach in this. And I'll introduce you to some new platforms that make publishing, getting some of that metadata super easy, like within minutes. So you can register for that over at aiauthoracademy.com. We are going to be presenting 4 group programs, and then we break off each week. You get 4 one-on-ones with it. So I know it's really hard sometimes when you sit through a group class, and you've got all this theory. Well, the one-on-ones are to take that theory and apply them directly to whatever it is that is your content, production, whatever you're doing with your book. So www.aiauthoracademy.com. If you're not quite sure whether the class is for you or not, go jump on my calendar, chatwithjuliet.com, and we can kind of walk you through. See if you're ready, not ready. So today's guest is Shiela Kennedy, and she's editor and publisher of Zebra Ink magazine and has spent over a decade immersed in the world of publishing. As a 2-time solo author and co-author of a best-selling memoir of Justice Joseph D. Valentino, he's retired, and publisher of 20 plus other authored books, Sheila has not only mastered the technicalities, and there are a lot of them, you guys, of the industry, but also championed the emotional depth that storytelling demands. She understands the passion, vulnerability, resilience, and creativity form the emotional currency that fuels an author's journey from conception to publication. Through her mentorship and coaching, Sheila has guided countless aspiring authors, helping them to draw upon this emotional wealth to craft stories that resonate deeply with readers. She created the ZI list, a bookstore, an independent directory for authors and published service providers and independent bookstores, which showcase the bravery, brilliance, and boldness of indie author community. Sure, you can talk today. I'm really excited about this program because I think it's one of those where you get a little bit of advice on the intricacies of the industry. And that, quite frankly, is that's always the thing that shocks people. When we jump into it, it's like, I didn't know that, or I didn't know this. So stay tuned for the talk with Sheila and I. Sheila, welcome. I'm excited to talk about your new programs.
Well, thank you, Juliet. It's great to be here. I'm excited to be back again.
So what propelled you to start the Z list? What were you seeing out there that made you think, I've got to be the information person for this? And before I have you answer that, I just want to point out to you guys, people get into these projects and they have no idea what it takes. They're always stunned by, what do you mean the publisher needs that? I have to do what? And, there are just a lot of little things that no one ever tells them or adequately explains. So tell us about the Z list.
Okay. So the motivation behind the Z list is I was a small label publisher for 8 years and decided that I wanted to close the label, but authors are in my heart and I want to be able to champion them, to help them grow, to help them build their platforms. That was always a goal of mine. So, knowing that I wasn't going to be publishing anymore, I thought, well, what else can I do? And so I thought about all the things that I had encountered over those 8 years about authors and what they kind of needed to be able to grow and to be able to sell more books and get booked on podcasts and interviews and things like that. So I started one by one, starting to put all of that together. And we started with the Zebra Ink magazine because I do know that being published is a beautiful way to expand your audience for very, little income or, little output as far as, you got to write an article. That's not a big deal for most writers. But it expands their audience immensely. And so I've been really happy. That's almost a year old now. And so that was the very first, step in providing a platform builder for authors so that they can come and share their story. We publicize their books and, things like that. So that's been a great part of what is now become the Z List. The Z List is actually a directory, and it is everybody gets a profile listing, and in their profile, they can list their specialties. So what do they write about, their genres, what do they do if they have a day job, those kinds of things. So there's like over 300 categories, I think. And if somebody doesn't have a category, because I missed it and didn't think of it, they just need to tell me and I can add it. And then it has all their contact information, their socials, a website for them, a bio section. They can put in a resume. They can put in their books. They can sell their books, and they can also get reviews on their books, which is a great thing because Amazon is not always user friendly for people that are trying to leave reviews, right?
Yeah.
And so we do have that option as well. They can sell their books from the site. So that's an amazing tool. And I recently added where they can put interview questions. They can put their media appearances. They can put their publications in. They can also put their fun facts. So those are all things that you typically would put on a separate press kit because I think every author needs one. That way, and they have their own link. So they have their own URL and they have their own QR code. So this is a way for them to be able to share. And a lot of self-published authors, especially, do not have a website. They don't want to go to the expense. This is exactly like a website for them. They can actually publish on the blog. They can publish community articles. They can put videos. They can put photo albums. So if they have a book signing, they want to put those up there, they can put those up there. We have an ask and receive board. So if somebody needs to get an introduction to somebody or wants an opinion on their book covers, things like that. That's part of the directory listing. For those that there's memberships involved in the directory listings, and the upper, the higher level membership also includes a resource library. So I share all of the resources that I have shared with authors for the last 8.5 years, templates, guides, discovery guides, crazy things like what state abbreviations to use in a press release. All those kinds of things that they may not have elsewhere. We also have 2 community calls a month and in that membership level. And we wanted to have self-publishing, questions. So if you are self-publishing, if you don't have any publishing experience and you don't know who to ask, and there's a lot of people that gatekeep, which I understand, but come and ask the questions and I'll answer as best I can. And if I don't know the answer, I'll find somebody that does. And then we also have a marketing and platform building call, and we have marketing challenges because we want to keep their marketing top of mind every month and, things like that. And we talk about different ways that we can market books and themselves and grow their platform and all those kinds of things. I'll have guest speakers coming in. I have somebody coming in the next month or so. We haven't finalized that date, but she coaches people to give TED Talks. And so she's going to come in and, share her knowledge with us. And so it's not just me because, there's a lot of people that know probably a lot more than I do. So I want to utilize the community that we have. And there's advertising that comes with all of that as well. So, I wanted to be able to give indie authors an opportunity to really have all the resources they need to grow. And I think we've accomplished that. We'll have a podcast coming. We just started interviewing the other day, so that's going to be a part of it. And I don't know, it's just lots of fun. I love the community so far because it's not just authors. We also have in the community two different sections. One is for publishing providers. So that can be small label publishers, that can be editors, that can be formatters, social media managers, illustrators, editor, the whole bit. Anybody that supports, we even have some coaches in there that, want to support authors specifically, copywriters, graphic designers, the whole bit, book cover designers. And so because I wanted the authors to have a resource of where to find these people, right? So, no gatekeeping. Let's have introductions, right? And then there's also going to be a section we're about to start launching that for independent bookstores. And so, because there's a lot of indie bookstores that will buy from indie authors, but they don't know where to find them, or and so this is an opportunity for them, to look at the list and see if there's anybody that they want to buy from, but also the list of authors can also see who is buying from indie authors and could pitch their book to them. So lots of exciting stuff going on.
Yeah. So that last part with the indie bookstores, you guys, I can't even express. There's probably 100,000 books that release every single month. And we pretty much insist that all of our authors purchase the buyer's catalog because it hones it down to 300 or 400. But think about that for a minute. If you have a list, you can approach these bookstores yourself to get your books in, because the catalog could get you noticed by the buyers. But there's so many books out there now that I'm sure being a buyer is a tough thing. So here's another thing that I love. And I think I told you this story earlier in the week. If you're going to self-publish, you can learn how to do this without making tragic mistakes. And I'm going to share a tragic mistake.
Okay.
We had an author earlier this year come to me to be on a tour. And she showed me the format of her books, and she had published her own books on Amazon. Unfortunately, she published a fiction novel with a case laminate cover because Amazon doesn't offer jacketed case laminate. Mm-hmm. And so when I looked at it, I was like, you can't send that to the tour people because they know about books. So we actually had to redo her book in case laminate so that she didn't look like the amateur that she was. So, having something like this as a resource would be amazing, because that is a mistake that can cost quite a bit of money to have to redo covers. And, she didn't even realize, she's like, now I need 2 covers because it's jacketed laminate. So, something like this for authors can be really, really helpful, and it's reasonable. It's really reasonable price. So let's talk about the platform building too, because so many authors don't do the platform building, which means they don't have access to an agent, which means they either have to pay for it or they have to do Amazon. So it sounds like you're kind of creating content and a press kit for people as well.
For sure. Well, it's not a do for you. It's not a done for you. Like, I do not do anything for the authors as far as like provide services that way anymore. We used to do things like that, but I teach them how to do it. So I think that's really important. So, how to engage in social media, how to engage in traditional media, using things like a press kit. When I first published my book, or my very first book, 11 years ago, somebody said to me, you need to have a press kit. I was like, I am not going to be exciting enough. I would never need that. Like, nobody would ever, I was super humble. I was super like, I just, I'm just doing it.
I call those people, I used to have this whole campaign about the invisible author. Like, I want to be famous, but I don't want anybody to see me.
Right. Exactly. So, but anyway, she insisted that, and she sat down with me, and God love her. And so we put that together. And I cannot tell you, like, it isn't really just authors. Every entrepreneur needs to have one. If you are ever trying to quote unquote sell something to the public, you need to have a press kit. And I use it all the time. So, it's great for obviously pitching press if you wanted to, and I'm going to stand by the fact that it is easier to pitch press than it is to move the needle on social media these days.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because social media is so saturated, and people are so tired, and they just, you have to shout so loudly. And most of the time, no matter how wonderful your efforts are, unless you're paying for advertising, which, God bless the platforms, because they finally figured out that people were using them for years and years without paying for it. And, they're now starting to cash in on that so that, if you have something to say, unless you're posting and boosting, it really doesn't get seen. So we can use the press kit for all of that pitching, right? That's a beautiful thing. However, the press kit is also super valuable when you are trying to pitch media, or not media, but meeting planners and event planners and podcasters and, those kinds of things, because they get to see. And that's why I added the section about media and publications, because most media podcasters, etc., do not want to interview somebody who they don't think can handle an interview. They don't want dead space. They want to make sure that they're going to be able to talk and they're not going to be, you know what I'm saying? So having a recorded interview on your press kit shows whoever you're showing it to, that you can handle an interview and that you have something valuable to share. So that's a wonderful way to be able to use it. I can't tell you how many times I've had people that are like, Sheila, just send over, like your media kit, because you're speaking for that group, or you are doing a workshop, or you're doing, whatever the case may be. And it's got everything they need to know all about me. It's got a bio, it's got a photograph, a headshot, it's got our contact information, it's got, all of the things about the book and questions for an interview. So I've added interview questions to the profiles so that they can just literally share their profile with whoever they're trying to pitch and get to use it just like that. So,
and that is really important for me as a podcaster. I want to, if I don't know you already and know that you can speak, I want to see a video, because I've had people try to get on the podcast. I had this one thing many, many years ago where somebody recommended this YouTube guy. He was like the age of my son. He was like 25. And I really felt I should have pre-interviewed him, because I felt like, do you have kids? I should probably.
I do. I have a daughter who's 25.
Okay. So I have a boy and a girl, and girls will just chat all day long. Like they come home from school and, they're back there telling you all about their day. Boys, it's like pulling teeth.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the interview was like. I felt like I was interviewing my son after school. And,
right.
Well, how do you do that? Well, okay. Like there just wasn't this. Whoa.
I get it.
So that's why it's so important for you guys to look at these things and see what other people have in them, and, have that interview or two, or all of them sometimes, in that press kit, so people can see that you can speak, you're not scared, you're really credible, and that you'll make a good impression, because remember that you're representing them too when you're on my podcast. So I love all of this. So where when you do these calls monthly, what night are they at the same time, or how do you run your events?
Yeah. So our self-publishing question and answer call is on the third Tuesday of every month at 7:00 Eastern Standard Time. And the marketing and platform call is on the last Thursday of every month. And that is at 7:00 too. So yeah. And what I love about that is that it is, people come as they want to, and but the community has been beautiful so far. Like I've really enjoyed building a community, and I'm just excited to see it grow, because, authoring and writing, and it can be pretty isolating and pretty lonely, and you can exist in a vacuum most of the time. And to be able to have a community of people that support each other, are willing to share resources with each other, there is somebody always knows somebody, right? Like, and there's always, introductions that are happening, and I'm seeing a lot of I'll say pollination for lack of a better word, but I'm seeing them doing things together on their own, aside from the group, so that they're interviewing each other on each other's podcasts, or they are writing on their blog, they're guest blogging for them, or things like that. So I really love the fact that there's a community of people who are all trying to do the same thing, and they're not feeling like they're competing against each other, because there's room for all of us at the table. And so I love the fact that we're building something that is truly community like, and it's really a give and take. So I love that part.
Is this fiction or nonfiction or both?
Both.
Both. Because I know I got a fiction book from you, which I hope he's out there selling, because it's really the AI book that was so scary.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Chase Cunningham wrote a book.
Yeah.
What get that 2020?
I have no idea. I mean, it was a while ago. Yeah.
He's really big. So it's kind of a fiction, nonfiction, because he's
Yeah.
really big on women in tech.
Mhm.
Because he feels like women, especially like in, what do you call it, like security state stuff, they have better intuition than men. But you guys should go read it. It's called Gabriel, and it is really scary because it's actually AI drones taking down a plane. And I remember, I don't know if he told you this, Sheila, but I asked him, like, is this real? Did he send you the Lockheed Martin video?
He didn't.
Oh my gosh. He sent me this. When I asked him, like, is this real? Or are you just making this up? He actually sent me a Lockheed Martin training video that showed these drones going in and killing a whole classroom in Russia, like a college. And I was like, oh my gosh, like you just don't realize how advanced we are. So that's good. It's both fiction and nonfiction. So, so where do we find it? Where do we sign up? And how do we get give us a little pricing? Because I bragged a little bit in the intro that this was all very reasonable.
Well, it is very reasonable. And I did that because authors generally don't want to spend a lot of money on their, platform building. And this gives them a whole lot of resources for their money. So, and the intro level for indie authors is $21. And for $21, it's a yearly membership. They get their listing and all of, all the things that they get to put on there. And they get 2 mentions or 2 advertisements in the magazine that go out sometime in that calendar year. So they get 2 advertisements as well. And then the membership level is Indie Publishing Roadmap. So that is all of the, the calls and the resource library and the podcast interview. And then you get, I think it's 4 different opportunities to be shouted out, and we share your socials, or I share the directories is what I'm doing, so that it's in everybody's best interest to go beef that up as much as possible. And I share those out 4 times a year. So, and that's only $99. So for the end fee.
Really reasonable, you guys.
Right. And if you are a publishing provider, you provide some kind of service to authors, and you think that they would be able to connect with them on the directory, that listing is $98 for the year. And you are not necessarily a part of the community as far as like being involved in the calls. However, you get some good advertising. So there's a banner ad on the website for a month. There's also an ad in the magazine. I had somebody send me a clip this morning, or a photo this morning, of a newspaper article that their mother had clipped out of the newspaper that I had written. And it had my photo and my byline in the article that I wrote 12 years ago. And so I've got that on my mind today. And so wow. I apologize for that. But yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, when you think about the fact that I wrote that article 12 years ago, I had a newspaper column for 4 years, and the amount of space, I wrote it for free. I didn't get paid to do it, but I was happy to do it. I got my picture, my byline, my website, and my content. This was way before we got into content creation. This is way before that. This was like 2007, 2008. And I looked up how much an ad of equivalent space size would be, and it would have been $1,500 every time I put an ad that big in. And so I got that for free. And how many years later, people are still able to see, what I wrote back then. And so you never know how what you say and publish in these periodicals, the magazines, newspapers, the guest blogs, how far and wide it's going to keep getting circulated. So anyway, little aside there, but the publishing providers, I am going to also have events where we'll have panel discussions and have, different people that are involved in the different aspects of publishing to be able to, field questions and get to know the authors and that kind of thing, because, let's just put you all together, right?
Yeah. I'm actually on one of those on July 9th.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And you hear a lot with other publishers too, like, hey, you done what? That's
Mhm.
interesting. So I talk to other publishers a lot too.
You're right.
So where do we find all of this? What if we wanted to go and sign up today? Where would we go?
It's at thezebraink.com. So it is ink with a K. So it's I'm not incorporated. It's ink with a K for a reason. I'm all about writing. But it's zebraink.com, and there's a join today page. And there's also, tons of business resources. You can check out the blogs. Some of the members have already started publishing their blogs. You can find my articles from Breakthrough Author Magazine on there. So, right? So shout out to Breakthrough Author Magazine. But yeah, we've got all kinds of fun things. And if there's something that you think you need that you don't see, you just need to let me know, and I'll see if it's feasible enough for me to make it happen. So
that's so right. Well, also coming up in October, I believe it's October 2nd, you will be doing a training for us as well on profiles and press kits. So every single one of you better be there, or at least look out for the email so you can register. Sheila, thank you. I'm really excited about this. I think there are a lot of people out there who really, really need this, who don't understand the industry, but they're jumping in feet first.
Right. Thank you so much, Juliet. I appreciate it.